You have to cut that bird's mouth so that it planes out with the rest of the rafters on the top. We try to take the wood out of the wall and put in insulation. That changes depending on how you apply the stress in relation to the grain direction.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Learning. Now, I have watched the inside of a bad service business slowly break down the business. It broke down the good brand. I've personally seen that. And I can tell you that, let me make sure I'm not muted first. I don't think I am. I didn't mute myself. And I can tell you that by maintaining great service, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to build up your brand. Now, I've been learning about great service since I was probably about 16 years old. I had the benefit of having my first job in a shop where the owner prioritized the people above everything else. Wow, this is going to be fun. How many times is this going to happen? People above everything else. And from that point, I had immediately started kind of like set the frame for my employment life. Prioritize the customer, serve above all else, and everything else will basically follow. That's always been the lesson that I had learned. So, growing a home building business consistently is going to be difficult. But by the end of this session, you're going to understand what is the heart of a home build process, how a good design improves your build, and what happens when your product is great. All right. And if you have any questions, then feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them at the end. All right. Now, first of all, guys, what is the heart of a home build? Now, I might be speculating here a little bit, and I might be biased, but yes. I'm going to acknowledge the chat because Jenna's going off over here. Hello, Jenna. How's it going? Happy Thursday. Yes, my arm. Okay, I'm covered in, this is mortar this time. It's not mud. It's just different. It's paint, it's mortar, it's mud, you name it. I'm good. It's all over me. Okay, yeah, I was tiling today. All right, refocused here. I got to turn this chat off. So, at least so I don't see it. Okay, so heart of a home build. Now, I'm going to argue, because I'm biased, that the heart of a home build is in the design, right? And I say that because there's three people in the beginning. There's the owner, the builder, and the designer. And we're all going to come together and say, owner says, I want this, fancy, this is a dream bubble. It looks like a tree, but that's a dream bubble. I want this fancy thing. That's what they want. And the builder's going to come at this and he's going to be thinking, how many dollar signs is this person going to be coming at me with here? What's the budget? How's this all going to work? Is this going to make sense? And then the designer over here is basically going to be thinking about, this is the house itself. They're going to think about the function of the house, the structure of the house, if they're a good designer. Not all of them are good. They're going to be thinking about how all this stuff can be put into place. And so because of this balance, you end up generally getting a design that meets all three criteria. But that's the give and take through this whole process. Person is going to want features. The home builder has to make sure that the size, the square footage, the features are not going to blow it out of the water, too expensive, too much budget. And the designer is going to make sure that it will actually work and that there's not going to be any problems or surprises for either one of these two people. Okay. And I'm going to argue that this design stage is extremely important for the life cycle of the entire home build. And I say that because this is literally the part where you are going to decide what the product is that's going to be created. And there are somewhere between, on average, like 20 to 30 different subcontractors, depending on your house, that are going to touch this project and they're going to see these plans, right? So you think about the plans as a document. There's all these subs out here. Some of them do lots of work. Some of them are just only going to do a little bit. Some of them are going to do a lot. Some of them are doing like all the framing, right? So like each one of these subs is looking at these plans, and they are bidding off of the plans, and they are deciding what to do when they're on the site. If they need to see what needs to be happening, they're going to look at the plans. Now, not all of them look at the plans the same way. Some of them just like basically like get a square footage off the plans and like that's a bid, and they don't look at it again, right? It's different importance to lots of people. The framers, for example, they're probably going to be looking at it the most because that's what most of the plan is for. It's for building the structure. Once the structure exists, then you don't have to worry as much about it. And that's partially why I think, honestly, the structural part of a house plan is so important. But basically, that's the heart of the home build. That's the design. And how a good design will improve your build is that you are going to be able to smooth out so many future problems if that design is good. And when I say good, first of all, I mean it is not structurally inadequate, right? There's not something stupid in there that's like, oh, these walls are misaligned. I have seen plans where people will, I'm not kidding, people will draw these things and the dimensions, the reason the drawing has to be perfect is because the dimensions come from the drawings. Back in the day, people would draw something and they'd say, well, I think this needs to be 10 feet when we go build it, and this needs to be 12 feet when we go build it. Nowadays, rarely do people draw on paper, and if they do, they're going to be like destroyed by companies that can do this way faster. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And nowadays, everything is about the lines. Where are my lines in my software? Where is the actual CAD? Where are the walls and all that stuff? And from that, we just tell computer, hey, give me dimension from here to here, and then you just drop it. And then whatever the number is, the number is. And so the reason this needs to be perfect is because these dimensions that the framers are going to read need to make sense. And so I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of architectural plans as an engineer, and both drawing them myself and as an engineer. And I have seen people, I would say 60% of the plans on average coming through have something stupid in them, where it's like, oh, framers are going to find that when they go to build this. And like, as an engineer, it's not our job to correct that. It's our job to make sure that it's structurally going to work. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to yellow flag this. And then when we send it back to the client and they go to build it, or we might call up the builder and be like, hey, there's this dumb thing here. Just be aware. We'll make a note in the plan. Be aware of something funny happening here. And it's stuff that's obvious sometimes. So if I build a house and it's 60 feet by 40 feet and it's got a second story, and when you draw plans for second story, you're not drawing it on top of this, you draw it somewhere else. So if I draw it over here and I go, this is 39 feet by 30 feet, let's say, and this thing is intended to fit right on top of this. This is an exaggeration by a foot, but sometimes you'll get plans where these are off by a few inches, and the framers are like, well, they're on the second floor, it's been sheeted and everything, and they're ready to snap some walls. They go look at their walls and the numbers are all weird because the numbers don't match the building as it exists. And so that kind of stuff happens. You'll see like just misalignments, numbers being bad, dimension, like you'll put a window. People, here's a window. Okay, if I'm going to frame the window, I want to know where the center of the window is. And this is probably what hopefully most framers think. And like, people do things differently, but in most cases I have found framers can do math. They know where the center of a window is, and they know it's like a 3-0 window. Okay, great. If it's a window, it's now 3 feet wide. Happy hunky dory. We can frame that. I have seen people, and it's not as big of a deal with windows, but people will throw dimensions all over the place. They'll take them off of like an interior wall and go over to like the side of a window, or they'll do weird stuff. And so basically, when someone's drawing who does not know how the plans are to be read and they're going to be interpreted, they don't know how to put the stuff on the plan so that it's easy to read. And I say all that because having a good design is going to improve your build, because when those kinds of things are correct, you're not going to get phone calls saying, hey, I don't understand what this thing means. I don't know exactly where they want this window, or I don't know what size this door is, or whatever. Like, it's just going to be in the plan. And so they don't have to call you and bug you. So that's the idea anyway. You're going to save time. It's just going to be a better idea when you have a good design and improves your build. And part of a byproduct of that process is you're going to be able to work better as a business because you're not wasting time answering questions that don't need to be answered by you. And the byproduct of that is that you now have more time to add more value to your process. So maybe your head's a little more clear, you're more focused. You've got time to go like order flowers for the owners or go just like check up on a project and call the owners, ask them how they're doing, whatever it is, right? You can make your whole home build product better because this thing isn't weighing you down. So why do we want the product to be better? This is the key point here. This is how we're going to get rich, right? So if you're a business and your product sucks, then you're only going to get so far. And remember, if we are a business and we have wooden spoons and we sell wooden spoons, we can't sell wooden spoons unless people know about our wooden spoons. And there's effectively going to be two ways for people to find out about our wooden spoons. These are the people. Right now they're sad because they don't have wooden spoons. Okay? So either you can tell them directly, whether that's social media or advertising or phone calls or outreach or whatever, you can tell them directly, or they can tell each other. Now, this costs money. It costs money because even if you're a business owner and you're like a solopreneur or whatever, you're spending time doing this thing. If you replace yourself with somebody, guess what? They're not going to work for you for free. And so it costs money to tell people about your stuff. And however you look at it, whether you're paying for ads or whether you're talking on the phone, it's consuming your time. It's time you could have been spending doing something else like, cutting oranges or whatever you do for your business. So that said, the reason this is so valuable, also known as referrals, right? Someone tells somebody else about your thing. This costs no money. Here's a $sign and an X. It's kind of sideways for me. It looks like an X. It looks like a plus sign for you, but it doesn't cost money because they just decided to do it for you. And that's good because then you can not spend that money and you just acquired a new customer, which means you're going to continue growing, especially if your product is good and you've retained somebody. Now you have 2 customers, okay? And you could see how if your product is good and this continues to happen, let's just say each person manages to tell 2 people over the lifetime of them being a customer. Now there's 4 people. You could see how this is exponentially growing, right? The power of a referral. Now, the only way you are going to get a referral is if your product does not suck. In fact, it's probably best if your product is great or if your service was great or something like that. And I mentioned in the beginning that I worked for a business that did not prioritize its service for whatever reason. That's just not that wasn't the strategy. Different strategy, I guess. But basically what happened was guy comes in who knows lots of stuff and he's happy and he has money. And so he is going to buy a business and the business does a service. And he knows about generally how to do the service, but he's not going to work directly doing the service. He's going to hire people that are going to do the service. And the business already existed, so it's going to do the service. But he is also very fond of cows. This is a cow. Cows don't have horns, but they have udders. Okay, so here's a cow, and he likes cows. So he's going to be focusing on his cows. He's got a ranch, and he likes to sell cows for meat and stuff and all that, all that world. And so he's got the capital. He wants to invest and grow this other thing, but he's also kind of focused on the cows. And he also owns a few other businesses as well because he is somebody who has, distractions in his life. But basically, that's going on And the result of that is not a lot of priority is spent on this business, and therefore there existed, I don't know how to, a brand. What did a brand used to look like? Let's say this is the brand. It's going to be like an M and then like a cross and then a circle above the cross. It's an M with a helmet on. Okay, that's the brand. That represents the brand of this business. This brand was already very liked by lots and lots of people, lots of happy customers. I'm not going to draw all the customers, but this thing's been doing it for 20 years. This brand exists off of work that's been building and building and building off of quality service for 20 years. And so there's a large customer base here. Well, one of the things that happens when this guy buys this business is this brand is going to carry and do a lot of work for lead generation for this business. There's going to be new people coming in. Here's a piece of paper. It represents a job or a contract and work. Lots of this going on, and the business is not spending money here because these people are all referrals or past customers or whatever. There's not money being spent to acquire new clients. And so when product sucks or service sucks, if in this case product was okay, product was fine, but the service was less than ideal, what happens is you slowly start to drain off the people. Here I am erasing dots. That's what I'm doing. You slowly start to drain off people out of this pool. And eventually what happens is you're depending on like what the market is doing, obviously, like your sales are going to start to decline. You're going to stop growing because you are now losing clients. And it's going to be difficult necessarily to see, because what's going to happen is, depending on, like, if you have this massive pool of like thousands of people that know about your thing, it took 20 years to build that pool. It's going to take a long time to destroy the pool too, because like that's a lot of people. And if you only like kind of irritate somebody like once a week or whatever, and they maybe tell somebody else or whatever, but like that's part of what happens, then that's going to last for a while, but it's not going to be the end of the world, and you'll kind of continue. And so that was my experience seeing how bad service was affecting the brand negatively. But we want to avoid that, because one of the things that happens is, remember, you're the guy and you're selling wooden spoons. And if you decide you're going to advertise to somebody else who wants a wooden spoon and you're going to spend money, if that happens and you paid to get their attention, their eyeballs, they're like, huh, I've never heard of this spoon maker before. Let me go ask my friend who is sad because they're holding a wooden spoon that's broken. That's a broken wooden spoon. And they don't like this guy who makes wooden spoons. So they're going to say, hey, friend, is this a good wood spoon maker? And they're going to say, I don't really know, or whatever. And they're going to be able to pick up from intuition, because we're all humans, right? They're going to be able to read it. No, this is not a place to buy spoons. And therefore, okay, then my attention will be diverted over here to guy B who sells a spoon with two heads. And so that's what he's going to go buy. He's going to go buy the spoon with two heads because that's more interesting. Okay, now the problem here is this, right? Well, there's lots of problems here, but the biggest problem here is that this guy just spent money to try to get this guy's attention, and it was actually like negated by the fact that this spoon was broken. Okay, product sucks. If your product sucks, this won't help you. Now, what you can do if you have lots and lots and lots of money is you can just spend and spend and spend and spend and acquire. And if you're really good at this process and not a lot of this is going on, you can still grow your company. This is a chart as the company goes up, X, Y, your company is still going to grow. All right. But you're going to be fighting this the whole time. And so it's going to be really inefficient. And so what you ought to do is, if you have a shitty product, is not tell more people about it. What you shouldn't do, or what you should do instead, is you should fix your product. Now, I'm talking to builders And so I'm going to say, hey, builders, if your design is sucking and that's causing problems in your business, well, then use a designer that causes your design to not suck. Because when you fix that and then you fix your business, because you now have time, because your design's not bad, you're gonna be able to like scale. And like when you make someone happy when they built a home with you, which is a difficult thing to do because it's a huge investment, well, or liability. It's a lot of money being spent. I'm gonna get too technical here. It's a lot of credit being spent, and people are very interested in this thing going exactly a certain way. And it's just difficult to have that long of a project with that big of a budget with consumers having them happy at the end. And so if you manage to keep them happy and they like the home you built for them, then they're going to tell other people. And then you're not going to have to spend that money to acquire new people. It's just going to keep on growing. And so it saves you money in the long run. So let's think about it this way, right? If you start spending, let's say you're like, you don't want to spend a lot for a draftsman, right? Because it's not a super complicated task. It doesn't take very long, and there's like an average level of skill out there. If you pay twice as much for a really good draftsman that's going to be very consistent, very fast, and getting you good results every single time, the double in price you're paying out of the cost of a house is relatively insignificant, first of all. And second of all, if your business can grow twice as fast or 4 times or 10 times as fast because now you got this referral network going on of people that like what you do because of this like one designer thing going on, then is it not worth spending a few extra $1,000s for this thing, right? That's the idea anyway. So yeah, we want referrals because people are going, like, the actual customer who will give referrals is a better customer, right? They're going to buy more often. They're going to buy more times. They're going to buy in higher price, like percentages. Like if you're selling, more of them are going to want to buy, right? They're going to buy at higher prices. And guess what? They're more likely to refer other people. And if the customer you were talking about was referred by someone else, then guess what? They were free. So yeah, you got them for free and they're going to do all this great stuff for your business. And it's because you decided to have a great product. I think that's pretty cool. Hopefully that works for you. But yeah, regular customers, you got to pay for them in acquisition. Referral customers, you don't. I personally like free 99 stuff that makes my life better. Oh man. So yeah, the other way to get referrals also, aside from just having a great product, is you have to ask for them because a lot of times people might not obviously know, and people know lots of people. And so if you ask for them, it's just going to increase your odds of success. And that says we're going to go over, that said, we're going to go over to chat shoutouts, folks. Who we got in the chat here? Yes, I am covered in stuff. Green Observer, hello. Good to see you, sir. Hope this has been educational. And we got Mr. Wyatt. I remember taking measurements with an architectural rule when I was first starting. Now many don't know what that is. That's correct, yeah. Yes, sir, that's older technology. Nowadays, we use electronics and PDFs and lasers and all kinds of cool science. But hope this has been helpful for you guys. I will see you on the next one.